Hello, Austin, Texas. Welcome to the home team with Troy and Colton, where we talk money and finances. This segment is brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we turn houses into homes by financing your American dream. If you want to reach out to someone at Security National Mortgage, it's 855-299-HOME. Or you can reach out to the QR code over here, and it will also send you to there where you can log in. You can reach out and ask questions and things like that. So today, there's a lot going on. It's a very, every time I talk to a bar right now, my words are, it's an interesting time. It's an interesting time. Housing inventory is going up, but it's still not at 2019 levels, but it seems like there's a lot of homes. And people are getting interested. People are interested in buying. The rates have finally settled in, kind of, upper fives, mid sixes in general. So people are becoming interested in looking at there, but what I'm seeing mostly is that people are having a hard time qualifying for one of two reasons. Either they don't have enough money for down payment, things like that, or their debt to income ratio is too high because, the last couple of years, people had to start living a little bit on credit cards and things like that. Interest rates are much higher on credit cards. I mean, they probably started borrowing money when rates were at like 6% on a credit card. Now it's up to 25% on a credit card. So they're having a hard time. But jumping in and getting into the appreciation game sooner rather than later is the most important thing. And so people are looking, but they can't. And so what I have found is that non-conventional style loans, right? So in the terminology in the mortgage industry, it's called non-QM, non-quality mortgage loans, are a great alternative. And because of that, we brought one of our local area superstars, Damian Squires. He is definitely with Security National, but he runs through MyMorgo. It's mymorgo.com, correct?
MyMorgo.com.
Yeah,
brand.
and that's his brand. He's been in Austin. He's not an Austinite, but he's as close to an Austinite as you can get without being one. He's been here a long time, but he's from kind of the south of Texas, So it took a little while to kind of groove in. But welcome, Damian.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. The non-QM space is something that we're definitely seeing more and more of. Like you said, the lack of down payment, higher debt to income ratios, and those products really afford a borrower just an opportunity to look at a home and get into a home. Whereas if you tried to qualify them traditionally, it wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
great alternative.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that, like, a prime example is you've been self-employed, right? You worked for, let's use IT because it's Austin, right? So you worked for an IT company for years and years, and now you've started your own little AI company. You haven't been in business a full 2 years. But you have filed 1-year tax return. Well, you don't really qualify for any conventional loan. But you do qualify for a loan because you're doing well. We have bank statements, so we can just take your bank statements, look at all of your business deposits. This program is a lot easier if you have a business bank account rather than a personal bank account.
A lot less source of deposit aligning with it.
Yeah, because we have to separate all that sort of stuff. But, there's lots of things. There's lots of different. That's the idea. That's what I really think is most important to get across is there are so many different ways today to get someone approved as opposed to just 3 years ago. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people believe that it's 20% down on a conventional or an FHA with mortgage insurance forever. That's what a lot of people believe is the only two real options out there. And it's not. I mean, we can do just P&L loans. We don't even have to supply a bank statement. You don't nothing. It's just a P&L loan. Now, caveats. All these have caveats. It does have to be audited by a CPA. So, it has to be.
Yeah. Has to be legitimate.
It has to be legitimate out there, you guys. Definitely. But there's so many different options. And I see that. One of the disadvantages to non-QM, because it is a riskier loan, is that that program typically has a higher down payment requirement. 15, some are 10, but when you get to the 10, the kind of the interest rate and things like that get out of hand. So 15% to 25% down is usually a good number where you can get a good quality one. And the rates really, they're 1.5% higher than conventional, which
they're appropriate with the risk.
Yeah.
And that's the way that our team describes it is, if you can qualify on traditional means with W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns, then that's where there's less risk.
Mm-hmm.
When you have non-traditional qualifying means, like even when you look at like a DSCR, which that's what our investors do is, it's a lens that is based on the the rental income that's going to come in from the property. So the risk associated with an investment property is higher. Absolutely, it's higher. So really just educating folks to understand that with higher risk, you're going to have a higher rent. Or different terms. So.
And it breaks down in one or both categories: higher down payment or higher interest rates. If the risk is even higher,
sometimes both.
But so a lot of people were waiting in the area for the market to bottom. That we have, in my opinion, I think we've hit that. I think we've flattened out. I think that this year, that would be 2026. I do think this year that we will see the traditional 3.8 to 4.5% appreciation in the Austin area. I think the market's moving to more normal. And getting a home today, I think for most people is more important for their future than anything else. I'm asked all the time, which is a better investment, stocks or real estate? They're both.
The answer is yes.
Yes, they're both great. The difference with real estate, you can get a big return. But in my mind, you're already going to have to pay to live somewhere, right? You're already paying rent. So why not pay rent on something that increases in value and that you have a return on when you leave?
Saying rent on an asset compared to a liability.
Right. Yeah. I mean, get rid of the flashy car, and buy a nice house. That's really, because it appreciates. You're already having to spend that rental money, and things like that. And so that's why I say get the house first, then start investing. Investing is done right. It's not scary at all, but it is scary in the beginning. So a house is not scary in the beginning. It's exciting.
Yeah. I think that the way that I like to explain it is, if you look at that 4% increase in value, in 5 years, that's 20% increase. I mean, you're looking at an incremental increase. You have to pay for somebody somewhere to live. So if you're gaining 20% in 5 years on where you're living, it's a no-brainer.
Yep.
And math doesn't lie. You put the math in front of somebody and they should see it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. My coach actually breaks it down to where even a little bit better. Let's just look at a simple number. You buy a $500,000 house, right? And let's just say you put $20,000 or 20% down, which is $100,000, right? So your investment is $100,000. That's what you invested. You're already paying rent, so the cost, the mortgage payment is just really rent. You're paying that no matter what, right? So then, in, like you said, 5 years, if we did 4% a year, that's 20%. That's $100,000 roughly appreciation. So your house is worth $600,000, right? That's not a 20% return on your investment. That's 100% return on your investment, because you invested $100,000, and in 5 years, you've got an extra $100,000. That, when people look at it like that, all of a sudden comparing to the investments in the market, stocks, bonds, and stuff like that, so you're like, whoa, okay, so that's a pretty nice investment. That's why I say both. I totally say both.
And there's a lot of borrowers that whenever they see they're purchasing a $500,000 house, they think they have a $500,000 investment.
Right. Yeah. But their actual investment is their
what they're putting into it, they're skin in the game.
Skin in the game. Hence the reason the greater the risk, the more the skin in the game. That's a term, in case you don't know. That's a term of basically saying that you have something to lose if you don't make your house payment. That's what that means. We say a lot of mortgage things, and sometimes we forget people don't know what they mean. But as far as this market, what are you seeing as far as houses, mortgage options, things like that? What are you seeing in the Austin area?
Well, in the Austin area, obviously we had a tremendous increase, 75, 100% gain in value from the 2018-19 numbers. So we see a lot of people that are still fearful that they're paying too much.
Right.
Well, we saw our dip, as you said earlier. We came down 25%, and I do agree that the bottom happened at some time in the last 12 months. Because we're on the way back up. So a lot of opportunity. I had a buyer last week put in a contract on a house. The appraisal came in $80,000 more than what the contract price was. So he's already got that equity.
Monopoly money.
Yeah, monopoly money. First time home buyer, moving back from his college and started his job a couple of years ago. And a lot of first time home buyers. And that's what we're seeing is, people really kind of say, hey, it's time. So, we've had repressed inventory for years. It doesn't feel like it right now because there are so many listings. A lot of those listings are falling off, as we know. Yeah. Because they were trying to price them at 22 pricing. You cannot do that in this market. You've got to price it right. And our agents are able to convince the seller to price it right are selling the homes quickly.
Yeah.
The other ones are sitting.
Absolutely. And that's one of the most important things that I believe the beginning is more important than the end when it comes to purchasing a home, that you should be thinking about pricing it right. And if the pricing it right is not good for you right now, it's probably not a good time to sell. Renting that home out might be a better option, and then selling it in a year or two from now. But what I'm kind of piggybacking off what you said, where I say I believe we've hit the bottom is truly based off of the appraisals because, 6-8 months ago, 25-30% of the homes weren't appraising.
You were getting nervous about appraisals.
Yeah. And now we're getting appraisals that are over sales price. So that's what I'm basing it off of. I'm not basing it off of, just some conjecture or something. It's because I'm seeing it in the data based off of appraisals.
I, jokingly see a lot of memes and interactions with our realtor partners where, someone's fun uncle said who was in real estate at one time in 1972 said it's bad time to sell.
Yeah.
And I know personally as well as we look at the data.
Yep.
All the time.
Absolutely. So, Damian, thank you for attending this. If you would like to reach out to Damian, remember it's mymorgo.com. You can reach out to Damian. He's excellent, knows the market really well. We hope you've enjoyed this segment of the Home Team 512. This segment was and is brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where I love to say this part, where we're turning houses into homes by financing your American dream. Hey, and stay tuned. So what you're about to see in the next commercial, and this is going to be a bunch of our featured listings. So if you do actually purchase one of these homes through our featured listings, we will give you 1% off of your interest rate for the first year at no cost to you. So with that, we'll see you in just a few minutes, and we'll be discussing finances, and you'll want to stick around for this next segment. Hello, Austin, Texas, and welcome back to the Home Team 512 with Troy and Colton. And of course, our esteemed guest today, Damian Squires from mylorgo.com. So, Damian, this segment's a little bit closer to my heart personally because I don't think people understand money. Right. So we definitely like to talk about how to use it, what it is, how it can help, how it can hurt, how to waste it, all of that sort of stuff. And one of the things that I don't think we've ever really discussed in the years we've done this is that how to protect it. Right. Because, we joke all the time. You see it all the time. Back in the 90s when that prince, I forget, but it was some African country sent out how he needed money to
he was going to give you money.
But he needed money first.
Your account information.
Yeah, and he was going to give you money and all that stuff. And you think about it, in the 90s, some people fell for that, right? But most people didn't. Well, skip to today, 2026, and they can record a few words of you saying and take a few pictures of you, and they can create a video that you don't even know isn't you. So it's much more sophisticated, and there's a lot more people coming for your hard-earned money than there's ever been in the past. And so you do need to be ever vigilant. It is so easy, especially for like us. One of the big things we have is phishing attempts, right? So they'll send us an email. It looks like it comes from, somebody, and somebody clicks on that link and bam, they can get into the system. We get, I don't know how many. We've had one successful attempt in the 15 years I've been here. Luckily it was just an annoyance one where all of a sudden it just started blasting us with emails. But they're out there, and most of them are coming for your money. And what brought this up was just over the holidays, I got a phone call, and on the phone, the caller ID said Citibank, CITI Bank. So I answered it, and they said, "Oh goodness, is this Mr. Manella?" And I was like, "Yes." They knew my name, and they said, "Yes, we're just verifying your charge. We've got your charge on hold on your Citi credit card, and we're verifying that that's yours before we release it." And I'm like, "Oh well," and I go, "It's not my charge," and they're like, "Oh," and so she kept going. Once I said it's not my charge, if I actually had a Citi credit card, they would have stopped it immediately, canceled my card, and then sent me another one. That's how the bank that I use works, right?
Yeah.
So right then I was like, sure, it was a scam, but because it came across, they knew my name. It came across as Citibank. They knew my name. I'm very good at my finances, right? So I know I have monitoring on, so I know I don't have a Citi card, right?
Yeah.
But most people don't. They don't know that. So their first thought is that someone's opened a Citi card in their name, right? And then I was saying, "Well, it's not my card. We need to cancel." And she goes, "Well, sir, I need to make sure I'm speaking to the right person," right? So now she's about to start dragging information out of me to steal from me, and so, and I didn't give her any. I was like, "Oh, well, let me guess. You want my date of birth, my social security number, and my mother's maiden name? I mean, what do you need?" So I kind of played with her along on the line, but that's the thing is that, finances is my life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I do, it's what I study and things like that. And so as we're talking, I walk over my computer, I'll log on to my little credit check, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she goes, "Yes, the credit card that we opened for you on November, whatever." And so I'm like, no inquiries on my credit report in the last 90 days. So there's no way a Citibank credit card could have been open, right? But had I just been working in another field, right? A nursing industry or, some medical industry or construction or something like that, where I don't pay attention to my finances like that, they could have easily have gotten to me because it was very clever. And that's what's happening now. And so, big ones, the big easy ones is emails. They'll send you an email with an invoice. "Hey, invoice attached for this." The first thing you need to do when you read an email, if you don't recognize it, read the email address. Because it will be something like,
There's typically something off.
yeah. Most of them are super lazy, and it just says like John@Gmail, and so I'm like, really, John@Gmail's emailing for an Apple invoice, those are easy ones. Some of them will get and they'll be like appleie.com or apple.net, I'm just using Apple as an example. There's no specific. I just know that we're in Austin and everybody loves their Apple phones, so I'm not saying anything bad about Apple. Please do not cancel me over Apple. But yeah, so, looking in the email address itself, 90% of the time, within seconds, you'll know it's a fake email. That other 10%, the .nets, they'll add a word, they'll put like, US.Apple, things like, they'll mix it up just a little bit. So the Apple, they're a little bit cleverer. Those are the things, but they'll have logos from the company, right there. They'll have everything will look legit because they'll get emails from the company that they're trying to impersonate, and then they'll blast them out. And they're literally just throwing a phishing net out there and pulling it back in and see who gets caught. They'll send out hundreds of thousands of these emails a day, and all it takes is one click on that link. We get tested every month, and things like that. So we're very astute to it, but I don't think most people realize how easy this is to do to them. Have you experienced anything like that?
The level of sophistication has increased tenfold. The email, sometimes you have to click on it because it's been cloned, and it actually will say, thecompany.com. And when you click on it, it'll be embedded as, 1234 at yahoo.com. So Yes, and we've seen it, in our industry, where emails are coming in and saying, "Why are your funds, for your closing, or it's in jeopardy. I can't be reached by phone," and it looks like it's coming from a title company
I was just
or a real estate agent, and I have clients, and we have that as part of our consult on the front end is do not wire any money, send any money, do not, respond to these, and let's talk about your credit and educate them. And that's something as a team that we strive to do is, have you considered credit monitoring? Have you looked into these things that will protect you in today's environment? Because it is very dangerous for your financial security. So definitely see these things, try and coach our clients to reach out. If we closed a transaction 3 months ago and somebody's telling you that you need to do this, call us and we'll say, hey, this is not legit, and just as part of our service, just continuing that education on ensuring that, we're there for you from several aspects other than just closing the transaction.
And once you close the transaction, that relationship doesn't end.
No.
Like it's still ongoing. If you need anything, if there's even a sliver of a doubt that it's spam, reach out.
Yeah. Well, in traditional mail, they'll get, hey, we'll help you, dispute your taxes. We'll help you, you need to do this. And there's all sorts of scams going on that follow our industry through public records. They'll see when you bought a house. And so you get put on their list.
Yeah, it's all out there.
Yeah, what happens a lot after someone purchases a house from us, they'll start getting letters in the mail, and it will say that it'll appear that it's from Security National Mortgage when it's not. When you read remember, something I've raised, Colton, is that it's not what you say that matters. It's exactly what you say that matters. And if you read the exact words, you realize it's not from Security National, but the way they do it.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
misleading.
It is very
I
misleading.
always tell them just put all the mail that you've received in a pile right there. Send me a picture where they're all visible, and I'll tell you which ones are and are not legit. You send them to customer service. Our customer service is very good about determining which ones are and are not actually from us. So you are taken care of even after closing.
Yeah. And one of and so in 20 plus years of doing this, I've had one attempt on one of my closings through title.
Yeah.
And the borrower was calling me. He's like, hey, so-and-so. And it was the correct title person's name.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, so-and-so has been calling me and said, I need to wire money to them right now. And I'm like, we haven't balanced. I don't know how much you need to wire. He said, no, they say I need to get it to them now, or, because it's got to secure. And I'm like, this is not right. I'm like, I go, we won't have the exact numbers for another hour. Why would you just mail them an arbitrary number now and then have to mail more or get less back? And so, so then I call the title company and they're like, and I say, hey, so-and-so is calling my borrower asking for money. And they're like, she's on vacation. She's been gone for almost a week.
Yeah.
So these people knew, they knew the title company, they knew the transaction, they knew the borrower's name, and they knew that the rep that they were working with was on vacation.
Yeah.
So, but because they were just a little bit greedy, they were trying to get to it before the bar, because I told him I would tell him how much during the process. I said, hey, and at the end, I will tell you exactly what to wire to the title company. So I wasn't telling him this, so that set off his flags to call me.
Yeah.
So that happened. So that's how sophisticated they are.
And I referenced the email because that was something that happened to one of our clients. They got an email and it was cloned from title, and it said, hey, I'm not available by phone today, but I need you to wire $182,000 to this wire. Here's the wire number, or your closing is in jeopardy. And because of the conversations that we've had with them for weeks, don't wire anything based on the email. And she called me immediately, and I said, and we escalated this through title up through the appropriate authorities, and found out that the FBI had billions of dollars in wire fraud and had only received back $2 million that year. This was 5 or 6 years ago. So.
That's crazy.
Yes. And so unfortunately, you now today just have to be a little bit more on guard, because the digital theft is the easiest theft, because it's like you said, once it gets overseas, there's nothing anybody can do about it, so
It's literally just a click of a
yeah,
button.
and this could be someone in another country, and there's just nothing you can do about that. So you just have to be basic rules, monitor your email. If you don't recognize it or are not expecting it, and don't click any links, look at the email address. If it seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And don't worry, the IRS will never call you. They will always mail you. So if someone calls you from the IRS, that's a scam. But yeah, so don't, just be vigilant. That's all you have to do, is just don't haphazardly run through things like that, because it can cost you your hard-earned savings.
I would say the other point is build a relationship with a mortgage professional.
Absolutely.
And call them.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you for watching the Home Team 512 with Troy and Colton, and of course, our special guest, Damian Squires. If you want to reach out to him, it's mymorgo.com. Reaching out to me, of course, is our amazing QR code up there, which is what everybody's using nowadays. The old way, you can give me a call at 855-299-HOME, or you can go to the website at loansfromtroy.com. This segment was brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we turn houses into homes by financing your American dream. Now, the next 90 seconds, you're going to see some featured listings of homes in the greater Austin area. If you are interested and you end up purchasing one of those homes off, through this ad thing, you can get 1% off of your interest rate for the first year on us at no cost to you. Hope you enjoy, and we'll see you next week.